up, and then of course our water usage is tied into the sewer rate, isn't it?
Well,
So
the
that
sewer rate's tied in. Well, the sewer rate's slightly different, but
aren't they like with the cost, with the costing of the kind of our bills, the water
Yeah.
rate, when it goes up, the sewer rate is attached to that, so it also
Yeah.
goes up percentage.
that the sewers is a little bit.
And-
It will take a little longer, but
Okay.
the simple math is that we used to get 90 million gallons of wholesale water a day at $640 an acre foot. They changed the units, but bear with me on that because that's how they price water in acre feet.
Right.
And now we're going to cut back the amount of water by 10% that we get at $640 an acre foot.
Right.
And we have to substitute it to be in compliance with this master water sales agreement assurance to
Right.
the peninsula with water from augmented sources, groundwater, so forth and so on, desal, that cost at least $3,000 an acre feet. So the immediate impact, without counting in all the improvements which will be passed along in the operating and capital expenses, the immediate impact of just substituting Hetch Hetchy water at 640, this is an approximate figure,
Right,
acre foot,
right.
with $3,000 an acre foot is about a 35% jump in our rates. Meanwhile, the peninsula has got this assurance of 184 million gallons a day, and for the period of the prior master water sales agreement, they only use 163 million gallons a day on average. And so, does that give you...
Sure, definitely. Now, being in the Revenue Bond Oversight Committee, could you tell us a little bit of the importance of that, the committee? I mean, does the PUC go to you and ask you for your wisdom before they sign contracts, or how is that working out?
The city attorney in defining the goals, well, let's have a little history on this. In 2002, there were many pieces of legislation concerning local water on the books.
Right.
There was Proposition A, which would have allowed the PUC to expend $1.6 billion. There was Proposition E, which did
Right.
many things. One, it took away from the voters in San Francisco the right to issue revenue bonds and transferred it to the Board of Supervisors.
Right.
It also allows for the SFPUC to enter into joint power sharing agreements. So I was a member of the task force. A gentleman named Rich Badisco pulled together this multidisciplinary committee.
Is he still around?
People from, last I heard he was in Hawaii, but he still lives in the
It's a
city.
good life.
But he pulled together environmentalists, economists, engineers, lawyers, professors from, and it was quite a good group. Well, we were concerned that Proposition E would pass and give unlimited funding to the SFPUC with only the board oversight and themselves. So we put together Proposition P, which created the Revenue Bond Oversight Committee.
Right.
And
Which is supposed to be a good thing, right?
Right, and and the city attorney defined that as the ratepayer advocate group to ensure that revenue bonds were spent wisely and in the most cost-effective way. And there are 7 members on it. There's 2 from the board, 2 from the mayor, the controller.
Right.
I forget the others. but having said that, and we're supposed. But since we were formed, we've been at the SFPUC, even though the legislation clearly states we should be at the Board of Supervisors. We're independent.
Right.
But we meet at the SFPUC.
Right.
We meet on a Monday morning at 9:30, quote unquote, when all corporate America meets, and we hold and we've never held, as mandated, a public outreach.
You don't, huh?
Yeah, and the chair has been shared only between the representative of the mayor, and we invited BASCA, that's the other one, Bay Area Water Supply Conservation Agency, to send a representative.
Right.
So they're the facts. Do I think it as independent as I thought when I helped write the legislation? I have concerns. I prefer to let it go at that.
Okay. That's one thing I love about economists. They're always so measured. Well, okay, on the oversight committee, though, I mean, do you feel like your talent is being utilized to the fullest?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, I guess we'll stop at that. All right, now, how will the state law impact San Francisco then?
Well, I think that I don't know that it'll have a large impact on San Francisco because, as I told you, we get most of our water from the Tuolumne River, 85%, 15% from local sources.
Right.
But the state has, and plus our water rights are sort of complex in that they're given to us under the Raker Act because they're in a federal lands.
Right.
And the Raker Act gave us very junior water rights, where we have to wait until the two irrigation districts, Modesto and Turlock, take their water out, and we can only take the water after certain flow levels have been reached. The water is flowing at a certain level. So we have junior riparian rights. That's another question I have about setting this 265 number.
Right.
Plus, the Calaveras Dam, which is the largest local reservoir on the system, it's 90,000 acre foot, is basically doesn't exist anymore. It has to be rebuilt. And there's siltation at Crystal Springs. So this 265 is a number that concerns me, and it concerns me that San Francisco ratepayers, utility rates may increase above and beyond the normal that they would increase if we were just paying for the capital improvements and other operating and maintenance expenses.
Are naturalists concerned that we might have some water problem in the near future, that we might actually be looking seriously at as a state that would be running out of water or sources of water?
Well,
do we have that problem?
Yeah. Well, this new bill has a lot of environmental contact.
Right.
But it also has, as I said, the peripheral canals resurface, which would take the water from the Sacramento River in pipes down into the two projects. The Tuolumne River Trust people tell me that that 59% of the Tuolumne River flows go to the two irrigation districts in San Francisco, and that other diversions take it up to 84%. I've been trying to confirm that number. But if that's true, that means there's only 16% of the total flows are left in the Tuolumne River. And if we go from our current historical long-term diversions from the Tuolumne River, we will have to take 2% of the total amount, which when you, like, the total flows of the river is 1.9 million acre feet a year. But if we go to the 265 million gallons a day, it's a tremendous amount on the margin. It's sort of a difficult concept, but so I don't see the 265 as feasible. And plus with the reservoir capacity down in the local district, I think it's nearly impossible. It brings into question.
Well, let's segue a little bit. We had a bit of a discussion regarding the economy. Remember the time when we talk about the bailout, the $780 billion bailout that the Obama administration had passed in February of 2000. Well, just this year, right? Well, the economy is getting worse, according to the perception of the average person. Right. Well, what is your take on this economy?
I'm concerned. I mean, the stimulus packages, they don't seem to be really well planned. They seem to be one shot across the bow. I mean, FDR seemed to sit down and say, here's a plan, we're going to execute it.
Exactly.
And he made some mistakes. Most of the mistakes were done by the Federal Reserve System. But some of the things were, pro-cycle, they drove the cycle worse, but it doesn't seem we're doing that. I have a lot of concerns. At first I was very optimistic.
Yeah.
But just to get back to California has the largest debt to revenues, and yet this is $11.1 billion, and I think there's a lot of good in this act.
Right.
It may have a hard track.
Well, hopefully